Another day, another episode about a man who hates women.
Yeah. This voiceover guy needs to calm down a little.
Oh my God. I was like, I wanted to say something, but I wanted to know if we were going to get in trouble for that.
Feels rude.
I think so too.
He feels rude.
I agree.
Right? Okay.
Hi, Jillian Benzavalli.
Hello, Patrick Hines.
Hey, fam, if you're out there and you haven't yet joined our Facebook group, I'm asking you to join. It's a True Crime Obsessed podcast discussion group. It's where we come and make friends. Several thousand people have joined in the last couple of weeks.
Great.
It's been wild.
Yeah, we talk about the episodes. You all find each other out there in your towns and your cities.
People are doing meetups. I'm going to be doing some meetups out there.
Yeah.
There's it's just a great place to come and hang out. So do that. And also join us on Patreon if you want more of what we're doing. There's over 400 full ad-free bonus episodes over there for you to get right away.
Yeah. In addition to the episodes, we're giving you after parties where we do AMAs or talk about different cases. We're doing drag bingo every month.
The drag bingo is really out of control. It's the amazing Schwa. We love her so much. The one that we did most recently, I think, has been our funnest one yet.
Yeah, we have a great time. We're in the chat. There are prizes. If you win, you get a prize.
I had 4 bingo cards going last week and I still didn't win. And we decided it's because Jesus doesn't want me to.
Because you're gay.
Because I'm gay.
No, we did this last week. Jesus loves gay people.
Jesus loves the gays.
Jesus loves everyone. But really,
I want to know what I did that made Jesus want me not to win.
I think it was the 4 cards.
Is it because I want it too much?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You're wearing it on your sleeve a little bit.
I was a little drunk,
too. Play cool at bingo.
Try playing 4 bingo cards with Schwa going as quickly as she goes when you are a little tipsy.
Yeah.
It was a real challenge.
I was drinking ice water last week and I stopped at 3 cards. 3 was too much.
I don't trust you in the ice water. I'm going to need some more information.
Mike was running a half marathon the next day. I had to be up at 6 in the morning.
All right, that's fair. All right, what are we talking about today, girl?
So welcome to our bonus episode. Surprise! We're doing it again.
Hello.
This is an episode of a show called World's Most Evil Killers. It's about a piece of shit called Todd Kohlepp. It's actually about his victims, but this is the serial killer's name.
On the 3rd of November 2016, police searching for a missing couple at a property in Woodruff, South Carolina, made an incredible discovery. 30-year-old Kayla Brown had been chained up in a metal storage container for 65 days. Her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, had been shot dead. Police would soon discover 2 more bodies on the grounds of his property. But the 45-year-old had even more skeletons in his closet. The murder of 4 employees at a motorcycle dealership 13 years earlier. In total, Kohlepp had taken the lives of 7 people. The twisted serial killer had been hiding in plain sight for over a decade.
Right at the top, I will agree with you that the narrator here, it's weird because it feels like a British show about an American case. They call motorcycles motorbikes, and I'm no shade. I want to live in London. I think that's better than here. I'm not making fun of anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a funny thing to have all the dates are backwards. You know what I mean? 4 September.
Or depending on who you're talking to.
April, June, and November.
Are exactly right. Depending on who you talk to.
But the narrator is I feel like even the Brits are like, girl. You know,
this is can we show some respect? I'm really asking.
I know. No, I know.
So it starts with, we learn about Kayla Brown, who was found chained up in a storage container. She'd been there for 65 days.
This is crazy. So this guy, the bad guy, the killer, he's a 45-year-old real estate agent.
There's no mystery here. We know who the piece of shit is.
From the top.
We get this guy. It's all about how we get him.
Yeah, and they just say that on the day that he's arrested in November of 2016, investigators had no idea that in addition to torturing this woman who was found in a storage container on his property, and we're going to see the video of the cops finding her and breaking her out of there. He's also responsible for an unsolved shooting spree, which killed 4 other people 13 years ago. This guy is up to no good.
Yeah. So Daniel Gross is a journalist. He knows a lot about the killer. And he says the killer had a really big ego, always thought he was the smartest guy in the room.
In his mind, he had those investigators wrapped around his finger. He was confessing to a murder that they were not able to solve for 13 years. And so just when I see his name or see his face, I always just think about his ego and personality behind the man that's murdered all these people.
they're not even original anymore. It's all the same shit.
I mean, it's like you can spot him a mile away at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Daniel, the journalist, knows about this guy because the killer has been writing him letters from prison. These people love to talk.
They love to talk. They do not shut up.
No, and it's like, so
this guy especially. This guy wants like his flowers, honestly. Like he wants credit.
The reason he ends up admitting to more murders than they ever would have found out that he did was because when he gets busted for one set of murders, he's like, but let me tell you about, I'm going to jail anyway. I got to tell you about the other ones I did.
Because you'll be so proud of me. I mean, literally.
He literally says, guys, you would have been he says to the police officers. The police officers are like, what did you say?
One of them, I think, is holding back vomit, honestly. It's like, is he burping or is he just like, I can't deal with this?
I know.
This guy has no remorse, no respect. He's super callous.
Yeah.
So we start in Florida, where he was born Todd Sampsell, March 7th, 1971. His parents split up when he was 2 years old. And then the killer took his stepfather's last name, Kohlepp.
We meet Dr. Elizabeth Yardley. It immediately we haven't gotten to get her from you in a minute.
My throat's being weird.
Yeah. There's something about being in this room that makes us feel like we have to scream at each other. All we ever wanted in our lives was...
We can't let them down. I mean, it's what we've been doing this whole time.
But like, you're so close to me and you're in my headphones and yet I'm still screaming. I don't know why.
And we just recorded an extra long episode about the Turpin 13, which we screamed a lot. I said motherfucker. That's like not something I say normally, but I think it was earned and deserved.
We meet Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, which made me think of Yardley Smith.
Yes.
She's Lisa Simpson. But she's also in a great movie called The Legend of Billie Jean.
Okay.
Do you know The Legend of Billie Jean? Fair is fair. It's Helen Slater, Christian Slater, no relation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a real...
That must have been fun for them on set.
It's a movie from the 80s. You should all go check it out.
Okay, great.
Dr. Yardley says, when you look back at this piece of shit's childhood, he had all the indications of what we now can recognize are like the makings of a monster.
Mm-hmm. We've got somebody who has real difficulty forming relationships with his peers. So he doesn't see children his own age as potential allies, potential friends. He sees them as competitors. He can only communicate and interact with them aggressively. He basically wants to crush everybody else and to come out victorious. We also have a history of animal cruelty.
So he was like a dick, but then the animal cruelty, because that train's never late.
We're told he bleached a goldfish. I don't know what that means.
Just torturing a goldfish.
Oh, my God.
It's like,
and he's
horrible.
Like shooting dogs with air guns.
It's like a nightmare.
There's got to be a thing when this is happening now, when we encounter children today in 2024 who are torturing animals, please.
Or whenever you're listening to this. 2024 on.
Tell me that there is protocol. There must be protocol at this point.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
You walk into Daisy's room, you see her being horrible to the hamster. What do you do?
Well, I mean, if she's like being a little kid and like sometimes you have to, like, when we first got a dog, we had to be like, no, you can't carry the dog like that. He doesn't like it.
Right.
But like if we saw her shooting a gun at the dog, we would deal with that right away. Immediately.
Right. I mean,
if she was intentionally inflicting pain to the animal, like no question, we would handle that right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like I wouldn't. I was just saying. You asked.
My poor sweet baby.
I know.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. She's the only kid you have. It's the only example I can give.
I know. But I'm saying like at a school or something. Like we know that these are kids that have serious mental health issues.
Yes.
If they're like hurting animals on purpose. We know that.
Yeah. Or at least it's something to be like.
I'm gonna say more than
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Though I love a good from
I'm
GP.
saying if you're the teacher, because I know parents, you can't say anything about anyone's kids. But if
you love that, we're right back to you loving not having kids.
If you're actively hurting, inflicting pain on anything, any living creature, or just being mean and aggressive, that's when I think, because I think it happens at school. Like he's being mean to the kids at school,
right? And he's not like shooting the dog with the air rifle in front of his parents. It's like things we learn about later.
But like we know about the story.
That's what I'm saying.
Hears.
That's my point. Is that somebody knew about this, and so I'm hoping if it's not his parents, that there's protocol now.
Right.
Remember when we learned that trees have DNA?
Yeah.
That was wild.
It helped solve a murder. That was the name of the 48 Hours episode. The trees that helped solve a murder.
Any living thing has DNA.
I know.
Who knew?
Amazing.
I know.
That person did not think she was going to solve a crime at work, but she did it. And I love it.
She did it.
So the killer's mom remarries.
The family relocated to South Carolina, but Kohlepp's mother divorced again in 1982. The couple would go on to remarry each other several times throughout Todd's life.
marries and divorces the same guy a few times.
How do you think that works?
I don't know.
Like, what would it take if you and Mike got a divorce, God forbid? What would it take for him to, like, get you back like a handful of times?
Well, that's the thing. Like, am I the one who's just not learning that he'll never change? Right. Why do we get divorced in the first place?
And then the second place and the third place.
Is it the same reason?
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we got a divorce, I can't imagine what it would be for.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
There's a whole lot of fish in the sea. You know what I mean?
It's just not, I can't. My big question is, are you getting divorced for the same reason?
Right. That is a good question.
Because then what is it? What is the other reason that wasn't a factor last time?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like now there's a gambling problem? Or now, like what is being unearthed? Or is it just the same thing over and over
God,
again?
Joe, I liked you better when you only had the gambling problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
So at 12 years old, Todd, the killer, is causing so much disruption at home. A decision is made to send him 1,200 miles away to live with the birth father he's never known in Arizona. Guess what? It doesn't get better.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. 15 years old, 1986, the killer starts to get even more violent.
I mean, this is wild.
He had gone outside and found a neighbor who was a 14-year-old girl, and he ended up kidnapping her and taking him back to his father's house. And that's where he duct taped her mouth, he held a pistol to her head, and sexually assaulted her. He threatens to kill her. He says, if you tell anyone about this, I'll kill your family, I'll kill your siblings, I'll kill you.
It's described as a horrific and unprovoked attack.
Yeah, but this girl has a badass 5-year-old brother.
Okay, so she's terrified.
Yes.
She's traumatized. She's assaulted. He threatens her.
The killer, yes.
The killer threatens her after the fact. She's terrified. Meanwhile, her 5-year-old brother calls the police.
Because the parents had just sat the kids down and been like, hey, if you're ever scared about anything or like one of you doesn't come home, call the cops. And so
the little brother's like, right now? Cool.
Right.
Literally gets up off the couch.
Hero 5-year-old brother calls the cops to be like, my sister hasn't come home. As he's making the call, the sister walks through the front door and she gets right on the phone with the cops and tells them exactly what just happened to her.
Where's that 5-year-old?
I know. But also the bravery of that 14-year-old girl who just survived that horrible attack.
To report it anyway.
And reports it anyway. Yeah.
Right. So then the next year, he's 16 years old. The killer is sent to prison for this attack.
Yeah.
For 15 years.
And Dr. Yardley is saying, like, when he was arrested for this attack, she's like, of course, it's like textbook. He didn't give a shit about the victim.
No.
All he could ask was how much trouble is he in? How much prison time is he going to have to serve? Like, absolutely no concern for the victim at all.
And then it's November 24th, 2001. He's released, and he left even worse than when he went in, which is not uncommon.
No.
You know, a lot of people say that's your time for rehabilitation. I think for Todd, it was the opposite. I think he sat there and continued to harbor all of this inner struggle.
There's no services there for him. He just sat for 15 years and got angrier and angrier and angrier.
Yeah, but then they're saying that like as he's getting out, he's realizing that he needs like a rehabilitation of his reputation.
And I do want to say though, he served almost his whole sentence.
Yes.
So he's released when he's about 30 years old. So he sat there
for half of his life.
He's 15 years old.
And those
are formative years that he's in prison. He's not getting rehabilitated. He's just getting angrier.
And it's not like he went to juvie, you know, like he
went to prison.
He went to prison with adult men who are criminals.
Right.
Like these were the people that he spent his formative years with, and it shows.
So he gets out. And he's like, I need a new lease on life.
Yeah.
I need to start fresh. So we jump to 2006. He's 35 years old. He applies for his real estate license.
Now, here's the thing. This really stuck with me. He is a registered sex offender because of what he did to this young girl.
As he should be.
Of course. And so he applies for his real estate license. The state of South Carolina is like, well, hang on a second, friend. You're a registered...
Hey, pal.
Look,
I know how difficult this is for you.
Yeah, we'd really, really like to give you this license no matter what you did.
No matter what.
No matter.
It doesn't. She was asking for it. What was she wearing again?
Right, exactly. It absolutely doesn't matter what you did. However, we do have this like pesky rule that we shouldn't give one to registered sex offenders. And he's like, you know what I'm going to do? Let me write you a letter and tell you what really happened. I know that I spent 15 years, half my life in prison, but they got it all wrong.
And he basically explains this offence as a misunderstanding between him and a girlfriend. So he's basically saying, well, this was her fault. This wasn't really me.
In June 2006, Kohlepp was granted his real estate agent's license.
South Carolina is like, you know what? Good enough for us.
Perfect.
Here's your license.
That's what we thought. That's usually what happens. Again, what was she wearing?
Right. And what we would love is for you to drive women around by yourself, take them into houses in secluded areas in South Carolina where you'll be alone with them for hours on end in pursuit of selling real estate.
This really works out for everyone.
It really is great.
Yeah, someone says he was a registered sex offender, but he talked his way around it.
My question
what is the point then?
Does it ever work? Has there ever been one time that the sex offender registry, like we hear this all the time.
Yeah.
They either don't register and nobody cares, nobody goes looking for them, or they have registered, but it slips through the cracks anyway, and they get whatever job, they get to work with kids, or who cares?
Yeah.
Like, my God, we're going to deal with it in quiet on set in 5 minutes.
5 seconds.
With children.
Yeah.
Like, does it ever work?
Yeah, what is the point
What is the
then?
point?
What is the point? You want to shut some woman up? Yeah, fine, we'll make a list.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah.
And then actually never do it?
Being on the list of registered sex offenders is meant to ruin your life because you've ruined other people's lives.
And I'm sure this might be a situation where we're only hearing about the times it doesn't work.
I guess you're probably right.
I'm just saying, because whatever. It's just, right now it's infuriating.
Especially...
He talked his way around it, she said.
Especially because of what the job is. The job requires you to be alone with people.
Right.
Sometimes women.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And like, these women have no idea. I think about this all the time with real estate. Like, women are going and putting them, just people in general are putting themselves in a room or a house with a stranger who could do anything to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And when you're looking at a place like on Craigslist that's totally unregulated, like come to this walk-up apartment.
But even like actual, I mean, like we've covered this in the past. There's been cases where people are lured to homes because the practice is you go and meet this person by yourself.
Right.
You know?
Right. How else are you supposed to see the house?
But that's why I'm saying the registry of sexual offenders is meant to as a fail-safe so that you're like, you know what I mean? It's meant to keep the back, like...
Am I
crazy?
You're not crazy. But
I feel crazy.
You feel it's crazy. It makes no sense.
It's how we keep the society safe.
Right. It's a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
He blamed it's a fellas. We've all been. I mean, honestly,
we got houses to sell here in South Carolina.
We've all been there.
Exactly.
She was asking for it. So 2006, the killer gets his real estate license. And I just want to say, the actor they have playing him in the reenactments is really making a meal out of this.
I know.
He's walking through the office with the smuggest look on his face.
Make a meal out of it is what our Broadway director said to us.
It's also like a saying.
It is a saying, but it's just so funny that
chewing that scenery.
We've carried it over. Make a meal out of it. Patrick, Jillian, make a meal out of it.
But he's walking through that. He's got that real smug face, walking through the fake real estate office.
Non-union
actor. This guy had a great day on set. And good for him.
And good. You know what? I bet it looks great in Israel.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like a world, but then you always have to have on the bottom, world's most evil killer.
I know.
But you know what? Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cares.
So
that guy is doing Pirates of Penzance in community theater right now.
And happy to do it.
Absolutely. And he's crushing it.
Or he's someone famous that he did this 10 years ago.
Totally.
So the killer opens his own business. He's living the good life, you know?
But they say, too, that he's like, you know, from all appearances, he's living as a model citizen, meaning like he hasn't committed any crimes, at least that anyone has found out about.
Not yet, because he does have an unhealthy obsession with guns, and that's a direct quote.
Yeah, which, by the way, is a hobby he inherited from his dad.
Right. His father was a collector, so the killer's now a collector. This guy, we learn, is all about what he thinks is like tough male stuff.
They are quite grandiose. They are quite alpha males. So he had a pilot's license. He was into motorbikes. He liked fast cars. So all of this paints a picture of the kind of American dream, you know, the macho American character.
Guns, and he has a pilot's license, and I'm like, are we gendering pilot's licenses?
I know, but if we're like, they're doing this like it's classic American, because they're all British. It's this classic American macho bravado, yet they call them motorbikes.
Cars.
They call motorcycles motorbikes.
I'm like, there are plenty of
Hannah,
women.
Truthy.
Yeah.
They're called motorcycles.
Okay. But it's like, there are plenty of women who have interest in all of these things.
Of course.
It's like, tough man. I'm like,
I know. My mom and her lesbian friends are many of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Motorcycles?
My mother, every single year on her birthday, Terry, my mom's wife, who was also my dad, got her a purple Harley, and they would rent it, a purple Harley, and drive up and down Cape Cod. That was what they did for the birthday.
Cute.
How lesbian is that?
Very lesbian.
It's so lesbian. It's so what they were the Lavender Menace themselves, those two.
Cute.
I know.
Fast cars.
I know. You got a fast car.
See?
Also very lesbian.
I was going to say.
I gotta take it.
So good.
Oh, God.
So, and it's stupid macho shit. What he thinks is macho shit. Whatever.
My mother and her girlfriend did not rent a motorbike. They rented motorcycles.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to let it go.
Are you mad at Lyft, too, instead of elevator?
No. That sounds fancy. We sound dumb when we say elevator. You know what I mean?
Do we? Okay.
Over Lyft?
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I sound like an idiot every time I open my mouth. So really.
We've been working on that for almost 8 years now.
I know. I'm really trying, everyone. One day I'll get it.
You're almost there.
Almost.
You're so close.
Am I?
I think you are.
Okay.
I think you're inching closer and closer.
I think so. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Every day.
I know.
One step closer to not being a dummy.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was all in 2006. His business, his real estate, whatever. He's living the life. But
this charming man about town was hiding a huge secret. In November 2003, less than 3 years before becoming a successful real estate agent, Todd Kohlepp had gunned down 4 people in cold blood.
this guy killed 4 people, and it's an unsolved case.
So he got away with it. He killed, we're going to get the whole story in 1 second, but he killed these people in broad daylight, got away with it. So remember when I said, by all appearances, he's been living as a model citizen? No, he killed a bunch of people that nobody knows about.
So he got out, he assaulted a girl when he was 15.
Yeah.
Spent 15 years in prison. Got out of prison in 2001. By 2003, he killed 4 people and didn't get caught. And now he's living the life in 2006.
He's by the way, a major real estate. He's the #1 real estate guy in his area.
He's on benches.
Yeah.
His face is on benches.
Phil Dunphy. Which you don't know what that is because you don't watch Modern Family, which is a crime against nature.
God.
I know, I'm sorry.
1 step forward, 2 steps back. So let's get into the story because it's horrifying.
Yeah.
So it's at a motorcycle dealership because remember he loves motorcycles. It's
November 6, 2003.
Yeah, it's called Superbike Motorsports.
Yeah.
It's a family business. Scott Ponder opened it up. He worked with his mother.
And we cannot say enough. This guy, Scott, loved motorcycles. All he wanted to do was be with his wife and his mom and be around motorcycles all day long. This guy, Scott, was living the dream. He was 30 years old.
I know. Now, Melissa, his widow, is here.
Yes.
She's awesome.
She's incredible.
And she tells us so much about Scott. He had such a passion for what he did. He loved it. He had a goal. He made it happen.
Yeah.
And because he loved what he did, he was really successful. And he was a nice guy and he put people at ease and he was hiring his friends and he worked with his family. He was just an all-around great guy.
A great guy, great husband. Melissa moved from Arizona to live with him. They got married in 2002. 2003 in November, just before the killing, Melissa and Scott find out that Melissa is pregnant. And this story, I was sobbing listening to this story. 2 days before the murder, Melissa has her first prenatal appointment.
Her first ultrasound.
Yeah. And Scott wasn't going to go because he just it was early in the pregnancy and he had work to do. But the last minute he changes his mind. He's I want to be with you the first time we hear our baby's heartbeat. I want to go. And she said,
it was pretty exciting, for them to find this beating heart and us to get excited over the fact that, yay, we're going to have a family. And that was a good day for us. I never would have imagined that 2 days later, it would all change.
Who could have known what was going to happen 2 days later?
2 days later.
So it's November 6, 2003. Scott goes to work like any normal day. And Melissa's getting ready for work, and she says she drives by the dealership. She honks at Scott, who's standing outside. He blew her a kiss, and that was the last time she ever saw him alive.
And by 3 p.m.
He was 30 years old.
He was 30.
30.
And by 3 p.m. that day, Melissa hears about the shooting at the dealership.
Yeah, she gets a call from a friend who's girl, there's been a shooting at the motor shop at
Scott's place.
Yes. And she doesn't know what is going on. She runs down there. Melissa blows past the police barricade. She's screaming.
Yeah, no, this is my husband.
That's my husband's business down there. The cops stop her before she can get to the actual crime scene and they take her home, where she says a cop sits with her and she's just staring out the window, just wondering what she should do, when the county coroner drives up. And she just knows, it's a woman. She walks in, she introduces herself as a coroner. She sits down with Melissa and says, we had an unfortunate incident today at your husband's business. Your husband was shot and killed. Is this how this information is relayed? I mean, I'm not saying I can think of a better way, but is it like the coroner comes to the house and tells you?
I don't know if it's always the coroner. I think sometimes like police do. We've heard that like this is the worst part of the job, going and knocking on that door. You know, we just did this in the New York homicide episode where the detectives on the case, like once they found the body, they went to tell the dad.
Because the coroner does this twice in this episode. So it's just like, oh my God.
So Scott was killed.
Melissa's thinking,
I've got to call his mom. Where's his mom? I need to talk to her. Where is she? Where's Beverly? And that is when they told me that his mom had been shot and killed as well, and that Brian Lucas had been shot and killed, and they hadn't identified the fourth victim yet because he didn't have any identification on him.
So, you know, Melissa's told it was an unknown shooter. Someone just walked in and killed all of them. Like, it's unbelievable.
Not only just walked in and killed them all, like walked in, killed them all, walked out and wasn't caught. Like, this was 2003. I guess there was no security footage.
Yeah, or he was wearing stuff, you know, he just, I don't know. There were no witnesses. There was not enough. This is just an unsolved murder.
Yeah.
But Melissa gives birth to Scott Jr. because remember, they just had her first ultrasound 2 days before the murder.
Like 7 months later.
And Melissa's like, he's my reason for living. He's why I'm still here. And Scott Jr. is here.
Yeah. Melissa says all the while after Scott died, I just wished I had been with him at the shop with him and his mom, and I had been taken out too. But as soon as she has that baby in her arms, she's like, nope, this is my purpose. And he is here.
He's here.
And it's like jarring. I was like surprised
I
to
couldn't
see him.
believe it. And Scott Jr. says, you know, every year on his dad's birthday, his mom takes him out for lunch, even if he's at school, like he's out of school that day.
Yeah.
And they just celebrate his life, and they have like these happy memories of being together and remembering his father.
I just was like wondering how it is for him. Like, he must be so sad that he'll never get to know his dad.
But it's senseless.
It's
and
just
like
so
it always is. But it really is. Like, this guy just walked in, didn't like something he overheard, and killed everyone in the place. I mean, it really, it was a random act of violence in the worst possible way. It's horrifying.
And this kid is like robbed of a father. It's
like,
it's
because
just
of some
awful.
insecure man. Honestly, that's what happened. So 6 months after the murders, the cops call Melissa into the station.
This is one of the wildest things I've ever heard.
So they took DNA from a diaper.
And we sent it off and compared it to the blood from the crime scene. And we have DNA that does not match up with your husband's. And so we need you to tell us what's going on. Who's your baby's father? You know, how do you play a role in all? I mean, I was taken so far back, I couldn't believe it.
They're saying, like, you're lying because we've compared the DNA sample. I don't even know what made them think to compare the DNA samples.
They're like, well, Scott, your husband is not the father. And guess what? You're now a suspect and or a person of interest.
Yeah.
So and Melissa's like, what?
Melissa's like, dig him up. He is the dad. Exhume the body, get another DNA sample, and compare them. It takes 6 months for them to do this and get the results back. And it turned out somebody had mislabeled the samples from the crime scene.
It's all a misunderstanding.
And so, like, they were comparing the baby's DNA to Brian Lucas's DNA.
Now, maybe be 1,000,000% sure before you go accusing people of murder and re-traumatizing them and getting them to exhume their dead husband's body. Like, let's maybe be sure before we start doing this.
It just, like,
pregnant Melissa just walked in and shot everybody in the place.
Right.
Like, let's think about this for a hot second.
Just just unbelievable.
Before we add to her trauma.
Right.
Let's maybe think for a minute.
Maybe like, hey, Jim, can I get the Brian Lucas DNA sample? Let's compare that to the
This makes absolutely zero sense at all. You know what? Let's go with it. Instead of saying, wait a second.
Yeah.
Can we maybe
And maybe you can imagine that, like, the police are under intense pressure to solve a quadruple murder that happened in the middle of the day in 2003.
Right.
Like, this should be, like, easily solved, and they weren't able. But like Melissa just said, it was the most devastating thing to her.
It broke my heart. It broke my spirit. I decided to move back to Arizona when my child was 1. And I just figured it was time for me to start back over in my home area and kind of get us out of the public eye because everybody knew who we were here. And I didn't want to raise my son that way.
She's like, I had to go back to Arizona because everybody knew who we were. Some people think that I had my husband killed.
Even though she did not.
Absolutely.
Now, we know that the killer is this guy, Todd, that we're talking about in this episode. The killer is the killer. now we learn what happened.
Yeah.
Apparently, the killer didn't appreciate a joke that was made. I'm like, well, he's an insecure nightmare, so that tracks.
He had been in the shop and like overheard or was part of like some jovial joking around, and he like took it really personally and decided he was going to go back and kill everybody.
Which means that he had the time to cool off and not do this.
Correct.
But what he did was get really pissed or look for a reason to be mad.
Yeah.
And then left and got his gun and came back and killed everybody in there because he's a monster.
Like, he said that when he got back to the store, there were like other customers there. He waits for them to leave.
He then drew a gun and exacted his revenge.
And just one by one, Todd executes them. He shoots them cold blood. Brian and Scott actually were the last to be shot. And after they saw what was happening, they started to run for the front door. And Todd was able to shoot both of them right outside the door.
They get outside. He shoots them outside of the store, and we get no information about the crime scene. Were the bodies dragged back in? Like, how did nobody see anything?
Like, no surveillance, no CCTV, no witnesses, like, no nothing.
Middle of the day.
Nothing.
Yeah. And Dr. Yardley says to us here, like, the fact that he got away with these killings meant he was definitely going to kill again. Because he thinks that he is the kind of guy who can get away with murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He thinks he's so good at this or preordained to do it, and now he's got the confirmation because it happened once.
Because it happened.
He's going to kill again.
So now let's jump to 2015. The killer has this reputation for being like this amazing realtor. He's like super well known. He's really successful.
Yeah.
He's also acquired a very large plot of land in Woodruff, South Carolina. It's 95 acres. And the minute I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's where he does all his evil shit. 95 acres?
Right. Yeah. They call it his killing field.
A large plot of land in the middle of nowhere, and he's a serial killer. Like, this is horrible.
I know.
So,
remember how it opened with that lady that they found in the shipping container and she'd been there for 65 days?
Right.
That's where we're headed, fam.
We're getting very close to that. But first, December 22nd, 2015, Johnny Coxey and his wife Megan are reported missing. They're a young married couple in their mid-20s. They've experienced some drug-related issues.
So, but this makes them vulnerable. Like, this man is collecting vulnerable people that other people won't miss.
Right.
And that's these two. Like, they had a kid that was taken away by Child Protective Services.
They're not in a good place.
They're not in a good place. And he can see that he can do whatever he wants with them and no one's going to notice they're gone.
So the killer offers them some work on his property doing manual labor. They're down on their luck. They need some money. Okay, great. Now, the expert says, he saw their vulnerability and took advantage of it.
Right.
So here's what happened. December 19th, 2015, he calls the couple, hey, I got some work. Come on over. As soon as they get there and pull up.
And he shoots Johnny. He drops dead. He then takes Megan Coxey and puts her into a container and holds her captive for about a week.
He kills Johnny, but then takes Megan, his wife, captive for about a week. She tries to escape by starting a fire.
So he puts her in the shipping container. This is not the woman that we're going to find later who was in for... This is his trial run at this.
Yeah.
And Megan fights back.
Yep.
And tries to set the whole thing on fire, and he just kills her.
The killer buries Johnny and Megan Coxey on his property and then just goes back to work and lives his life, like nothing ever happened.
Nobody misses them. Like, exactly what he thought was going to happen happened.
And 2 days later, they're reported missing, but there are no leads, and the killer gets away with it again.
Yeah.
So someone did report them, but it sort of was just like, oh, they probably ran away. They probably, whatever, blaming drugs. It's so horrible.
Right, but he's now killed 6 people and gotten away with it. Like, I mean, it's...
And assaulted one. All that we know of.
Right, exactly.
Just that we know of.
Yeah.
So almost a year later, September 4th, 2016, Charlie David Carver is reported missing. Chuck Carver, his father, is here with us.
And Charlie, the son, is 32 years old.
And Chuck, the dad, is like, I have to tell you, I know everyone says this about their kid, but my kid was awesome.
Yeah.
He goes, Charlie was the nicest guy. He'd literally give you the shirt off his back. I've seen him do it. He's just one of those guys.
And they just have this great relationship where they text all the time about sports.
Yeah, it's just one of those father-son things. He was like, we were always texting about football and sports. And the fact that when the parents are here and the family is here, it's always I just can't imagine what it's like to sit there with like all the lights on you and all the cameras.
And like, that's what you're there to, you're not here because you won the lottery.
I know. Then you're talking about like really like quote mundane things that you now miss with like your whole heart because your son isn't here because this asshole took him away from the world.
Yes.
Like, I just can't believe it.
Yes. So we learned that Charlie, the victim, had a new girlfriend she's also missing. Her name is Kayla Brown. This is the story, fam. This is the woman they find chained up in this shipping container. But like, it's also a new relationship. Charlie and Kayla had just gotten together. The dad had just met Kayla for the first time.
I ran into Charlie and Kayla at Walmart on a Saturday. We were shopping and they were coming out and he introduced Kayla to us. And that was the first time I'd met her. And 5 days later, they went missing.
The dad had just met Kayla for the first time at like a Walmart parking lot. They were like, this town is so small. They just happened to both be in Walmart on the same day.
But importantly, Kayla had already known the killer. And it's not very clear. They kind of say they met on Facebook. It's a little vague. Like, I think they maybe met once and then he tried to keep up their relationship on Facebook, or maybe he just messaged her on Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They were definitely like Facebook friends from the internet.
Yeah. And so the killer, reaches out to Kayla offering her a job.
Yes.
Because this is how he would get people to his like desolate
95 acre, exactly.
No, yeah, like 95 acres, like in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But they're all like young people who could use the work, or they're vulnerable, or, whatever.
And Kayla says to boyfriend Charlie, like, hey, my friend from Facebook's a little weird, but like, he's going to give us a job. So,
or maybe my great friend from Facebook.
Totally. Right. We don't know.
Like, we don't know.
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
super successful, and he's also like helping people get work.
Yeah.
Like, wow, what an amazing. Remember, he has a reputation about town. Everyone knows who he is. He's really successful.
Totally. So they go to the property and they vanish.
And so they're missing for 30 days, but we learn that the killer did the same exact thing he did with Johnny and Megan Coxey. So Charlie and Kayla arrive to the property, and as soon as Charlie gets out of the car, the killer shoots and kills him just like he did to Johnny.
Right in front. Like, I can't put yourself in Kayla's shoes. There's only two ways this can end, and now they're both terrible.
I know.
You know?
So the killer takes Kayla captive in that same shipping container, the one that Megan tried to escape by setting it on fire.
Yes.
So Kayla is there. This is the story from the beginning.
Right.
Kayla is there for a total of 65 days.
The next 2 months, Kayla Brown is in captivity. She's on that property. No one's heard from her. No one knows where she is. Meanwhile, Kohlepp is still living his normal life. He's going to work. He's working late hours. He's talking to people like normal.
The killer is like going to work, living his life, like, being successful.
Really think about that. Like, that means, like, and we're going to learn this later, he considered, like, she was his prisoner.
Yes.
And he would go up to his property, rape her, sometimes several times a day. Yep. But he's also got to be, like, feeding her and bathing her. Like, we don't get any of those details. Because when we do see her, we see the video of them rescuing her. Somehow, she doesn't necessarily look like she's been trapped in a shipping container for 65 days.
She looks like a shell of a person. She looks like someone who's been held captive and tortured for 65 days.
Right, I'm just saying, like, her physical appearance, like, I don't know what he's doing to, like, how he's keeping her alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 65, she has to eat,
yes.
Right? I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the cops, because remember, they're missing for 30 days at this point. So the cops are trying to use the cell phone towers to locate Charlie and Kayla, and they do.
Yeah.
Like, they find Kayla's cell phone, and they can see what town she's in.
Which is wild. I'm like, A, why did this take 30 days? And B, like, if they're tracking her phone every day, so like he's charging her phone for her. Does he not understand that they can track that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was a little confusing because maybe it took them 30 days to like get the record, but he just like tossed the phone and now it's dead.
Could be.
So
and
the
it's
last
like where it
probably last
pings,
was. Well, because when she was in that car before they got out, she had her phone.
Right. Yes.
And it all happened on his property. So they can see what town she was last in, and then they start getting the property records. Bada bing, bada boom, we have the killer's name.
Yes, exactly.
So investigators are ready to get this monster.
We've got investigators in Spartanburg that go to Kohlepp's house, which is about 20 minutes or so from the Woodruff property. And meanwhile, there's another team of investigators that go to the Woodruff property with a search warrant. And they get into the property and they start looking. They find Kayla chained up in the container.
They find the big containers on the property.
I just want to say, there's camera footage from both locations.
Yeah.
So when they get to his house, they put him in a chair.
He's at the house.
He's at the house, and they cuff him to a chair.
So these containers, though, where Kayla is, it's like enormous, like metal dumpster-looking things.
Yeah.
With chains. It's like all metal. Right. So they have to like cut through it. It's like the sparks of the like.
Because they can hear her on the inside. Yeah. So she's screaming bloody murder, and like there's body cam footage of them using saws, like electrical, whatever you call those saws, to like get in and get to her.
And so we have video of her being released, and as they're like, okay, we have Kayla, go to this motherfucker's house.
Yes.
This is my word of the day. I said it in the turbine.
I know.
Go to this guy's house.
And so that we see them like radio the cops that are at the killer's house saying, we got Kayla. And that you see the cop at the killer's house say to the guy, we have Kayla. And he just shuts down.
So and they know he killed Charlie.
Yes.
So he just is denied. He's like,
oh my God, because we see the cops say to Kayla, where's your friend? Where's Charlie?
Yeah.
And she says he shot and killed him.
So the killer's denying everything. I didn't shoot anyone. No, I don't know about a gigantic container on my own property. Like, yeah, right.
Or a woman who's chained up inside of it.
So the officer's like...
So you're saying you didn't lock her up, you didn't put her in a Connex box or anything?
I'm money an attorney.
Probably a good thing. Go ahead and put him in the back of your car.
This cop has had it. He goes, yeah, probably a good thing. Go ahead and put him in the back of your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a good thing, buddy. Get your stupid lawyer. I mean, everyone should ask for a lawyer.
I was just going to say, like, the cops hate that we know that we're supposed to do that. You know what I mean? They get annoyed every time.
But he also hates this guy.
Of course.
So it's like, you want to shut up? We still have you, guy.
Right.
It's on your property. Like, you can have a lawyer, but you're like, we got you.
Like that, we just found a woman in a shipping container on your property. Like, this is open and shut,
and they don't even know that he's connected to all these other murders.
Exactly.
Like, this is bad enough, Charlie and Kayla, and there's more to it. So the killer's finally put away, and the investigators search the property, and they find the bodies of Charlie Carver, Kayla's boyfriend, who she said he shot him on this property, so he is somewhere, and also Johnny and Megan Coxey from a year before.
Yeah.
So he's charged with 3 murders and the kidnapping and assault, I hope, of Kayla Brown.
They get him on that. He gets 60 extra years for that eventually.
Oh, good. Okay.
But like, what is happening now, we're back to the investigative journalist from the beginning who's like, this is where he's saying this Kohlepp guy in custody he's already wheeling and dealing. He's like, look, I know you got me on these 1, 2, 3 murders and the kidnapping of this lady. There's so much more. If you're willing to play ball, there is so much more I can tell you.
And he just wants the attention. Right. Now that he has an audience, he's like, it kind of doesn't matter. Like, I'm going away for the rest of my life. Like, do you guys want to like hear some other stuff I did?
And this is where like Dr. Yardley is back to say like he couldn't help himself.
He couldn't wait.
He had to tell them about that quadruple murder from 13 years ago that he got away with.
And he does.
And we see him.
And he says, so imagine it's like the camera's up in the corner. So we have like the aerial view. It's in the interrogation room. It's the killer on one side and 2 cops on the other side of the table. And he is talking, and the way he says this is the most callous, evil, dark way. He's talking about this quadruple murder.
And also just tone deaf.
Tone deaf.
He honestly believes these cops are going to be thrilled at what he did.
He says,
That was one big building. I cleared it in under 30 seconds. You what now? I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
He laughs. He goes, I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud. Meaning, I killed those 4 people in under 30 seconds. That's what he means when he said, I cleared the building.
Room. Yeah.
So he's trying to talk like them.
Right.
And he's trying to and that's when you see one of the cops, like, he can't even look at him.
Right.
This guy is delusional. He is evil. He's bragging. He wants the recognition. He wants these 2 guys to be impressed.
So the cops are dealing with that, but they're also like, wait a second. This guy knows details about that murder that were never released to the public.
Yes.
So like,
he did it.
Is the guy. And he just admitted to this quadruple murder for nothing.
And bragged about it. What did he expect the cops to be like, wow, that is pretty good.
Let's go out for a beer.
Like, I mean, this guy is delusional.
You know, he's been living with this for 13 years. He's been dying to tell anybody. He's been dying to tell anybody what he did and got away with.
And guess what? Now everybody knows because the whole town's like, wait, the realtor guy?
Right.
The guy on all the park benches and all of the buses? Like, that guy? Like, he sold me my house.
I know.
Like, are you kidding? And again, it's just that, like, you never know what people are doing.
No, and they call Melissa, Scott's wife. Remember Scott's the 30-year-old who owned that motorcycle business?
Yeah.
And they say, like, we got to tell you, like, we got the guy. And she's just like...
He started to explain, have you been following the news? There was a girl that we just recovered. And I said, I have been following that story. I'm like, how does that relate to, and he says, it is the same guy.
this 13-year-old cold case is connected to the woman who was just rescued after... Like, no one can believe that all of these things are connected.
She'd been following the case of Kayla Brown, the woman who had just been recovered, having been in that shipping container for 6 months. And the cops were like, you're never going to believe this. It's the same guy.
Right. And the cops tell him, plead guilty to these 7 murders and we'll give you a life sentence and the death penalty's off the table. And that's all he wanted. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'll just kill me.
Right.
I'll never understand the negotiation to get the death penalty off the table. And I know, like, I've watched all the things, I've read all about how horrible we treat people in this country when we're killing them on death row. I'm just saying... Who's like, I want to spend the next 7 decades in prison. Give me that.
I can't, my brain can't understand how anyone gets into a position where you have to make that choice.
I can't either.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying that now sitting where I am. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. But we see that a lot. Anything but the death penalty. Yeah. It's like, what, you just want to walk around with your chest puffed out in prison bragging about what you did? You fucking loser?
Yes, I mean, like,
is that it?
I think so. He sat on that secret for 13 years. He gets to talk about the 7 murders he committed and got away with. You know what I mean?
Well, not really, because he's in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Well, 2 years later in a civil hearing in July 2019, the families get to speak. And like Charlie's dad is back. And he's just like, because they're trying, the guy's got an estate. There's some money there. So the families are entitled to, some of the money that this guy has. And Charlie's dad just says.
And I was telling my story of Charlie, how his loss has impacted me and my family. As I finished up, our attorney asked me what was the amount of damages we were seeking. I said that wasn't seeking a certain amount because you can't put an amount on a person's life.
He needs to know what he took from me. And he's like holding back tears. It's so sad. But he says, like, I'm not asking for a set amount. Like, you can't put a dollar amount on someone's life and it won't bring him back. And I'm thinking, like, honestly, what good is that money to the killer anyway?
Right.
He's going to prison for 7 consecutive life sentences.
Yeah.
He's not using that money.
Commissary money.
Like,
you know what I mean?
But like, it doesn't matter to him. It's useless to him now.
And also Melissa, the widow.
He's not appealing. He admitted, you know, there's no chance he can use it in the future to buy another. Like, he's going away forever.
There's no empathy in this man. So it's not like he can be like, you know what, take what is mine is yours.
No, right. I'm sorry. Imagine. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
No, we're not getting that.
But Melissa, the widow, she takes the stand because she wants to forgive him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? You do you, girl.
Yep.
You do you.
I'm not judging. Scott Jr. also speaks.
Yeah, and Scott Jr., who's like a teenager, is like saying that he feels like what he said would have made his dad proud.
Yeah.
So that's important.
And, the killer says that he's responsible for more murders because based on this story that we hear, there was a 12-year gap.
Yes.
And he has kind of been dropping hints that actually there wasn't a 12-year gap. He was killing that whole time.
I just wonder about that. I wonder if, like, when he got out of prison and he was trying to rehabilitate his whole thing and then he gets away with those 4 murders, like, is he really trying to stay on the up and up until he gets to the point where he just has to kill people?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's lying and bragging about it, but to me it feels like he's always been an angry, violent person, so it would not surprise me.
Well, and that's like journalist Daniel from the beginning. Like, that's his whole MO, talking about, like, this is why I'm in contact with this guy.
It's a weird feeling because it's this gray area of, you're a serial killer, and we're not friends by any means. Let's try to find some more detail here and bring some other families some closure.
If we can get closure for at least one more family or anyone to solve a cold case, then I'll write back and forth. But he said, he was like, drop the niceties. Yeah. Don't ask me if I'm well. I'm not well. I'm writing you. I'm trying to get help for these people, and you're a monster. So either cut the shit and be honest with me, or I have to go.
Right.
Goodbye.
Jillian's Law.
XOXO. Fuck you.
Oh my God, girl, we did. What is it, guys?
Yeah, so the show is called The World's Most Evil Killers, and I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
It's in the 4th season, whatever.
Great. Fam, join the Patreon. Over 400 full ad-free bonus apps. What have we done lately? We did Love Is One, The Cult of Mother God.
Yeah, we've
Twin
done
Flames.
Lost Women of Highway 20. So let me tell you what we got coming up next, because we have a lot. So up next, just in general in the TCO world, we are wrapping up Twin Flames on the Patreon tomorrow, which is Friday.
Great. That series is wild.
It's wild. We did the Amazon one, but in the 3rd ep, I broke bring in some stuff from Netflix. I watched them both, so we did our best to cover both of them as best we could. Then, starting next week on Patreon, Quiet on Set.
Yeah.
Then the next episode on the regular feed will be the Turpin 13 Escape from a House of Horror, which is on Hulu, which is told by survivors Jordan and Jennifer Turpin.
Fam, we just recorded that right before we recorded this. It is insane.
Yes.
It is like 13 kids chained to their beds, like
horrible,
escaping
evil
their parents.
And then these two amazing survivors telling their story on to Hulu. It's incredible. So there's a lot coming your way.
And the Jinx Part 2 is coming up. We just have to figure out we have to see it all before we do it. But as soon as they're all out, we're doing it.
We're doing it. It's for sure.
And I'm watching it like every week. I hate that it's week to week. I hate it so much.
Jarecki, please.
I know.
But it's how he did it last time.
I know.
He's doing it now. Jarecki, I have notes, but we'll talk later.
All right. So what's the trailer we're playing for next week?
So we'll do, I guess, the Turpin 13 because it's the next episode on the regular feed.
So, fam, stay tuned for the trailer for that, and then our funny and hilarious outtakes if we have any. Tom, I don't know if we have any this week.
Oh man, we were angry
we
today.
Were
fuck
mad.
This guy.
I know, fuck this guy. But we love you, fam.
We love you. Thanks for hanging out, and I hope you're enjoying these bonus episodes.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
All right, bye.
Bye.
An amazing escape to save a family by a terrified girl with towering courage.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency? I just ran away from home because we have abusing parents.
My whole body was shaking.
Trying to save her 12 siblings from a house of horrors.
The only word I know to call it is hell.
Diane Sawyer with a story of survival like you've never seen.
Every day did you wake up in terror?
For the first time anywhere, the raw police body cam footage. Inside the house in real time. And the secret recordings the children made on a camera hidden in a Barbie doll. And the superstar who never knew he inspired them to break free.
I started realizing that there is a different world out there.
Now, two sisters who risked their lives to save them all and move from terror to triumph.
I want the Turpin name. Like, wow, they're strong.
This is life.